can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, will you do roll call?
Montgomery.
Here.
Letus.
Here.
Cloud.
Here.
Reddick.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Borowski. And he's excused because he's at a conference for work.
Approval of the minutes for June 18th. Did we have a chance to review the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
That's it. All those in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're going to move on to public comment unrelated to items on the agenda. Is there anything? We'll go ahead and start the public hearings, and we're going to start with the hearing for 114 North Warren Avenue, City of Big Rapids property.
So. This request is for the property at 114 North Warren. The property is zoned RP, which is our residential professional district, and it is currently used as the back part of the parking lot for the post office. The process laid out in the city ordinance for the city to have the possibility of selling property is that the planning commission has to deem that the property has become surplus for the city and that there's no use or need for it in our master plan. And so that's what we're here to determine tonight. The property was bought by the city in 1989. At the time it was owned by a local family. Attached are the deeds and resolutions that were approving the purchase of the property. There was no real explanation in any of that paperwork that I could find with what the intent or the purpose of the purchase was. And I didn't talk to anyone who knew what that purpose, no one at City Hall seemed to know. Using aerial photography, it appears there were some type of residential structure on the property, maybe in the 1950s. But by the 1980s, the aerial showed no structures on the property. I couldn't really tell from the quality of the photo in the 80s if it had been turned into a parking lot or not, but it appeared like it was. So the master plan designates this area as neighborhood mixed use. This type of land is to be used both residential or commercial in nature, or a combination of the two. Currently, the property is improved as a parking lot, and there are no current city utilities or infrastructure on the property. There are 2 catch basins that are on the property that help drain that parking lot. The Public Works looked at it for me, and the catch basins do have a pipe between them, but they don't connect to any of our utility system or our stormwater system. They're just for that parking lot only. So they do serve as the drainage for the parking lot, for the post office. If the property were to be sold, that would be something that would have to be discussed with the post office, or they would have to be notified because it is helping to drain their parking lot if they weren't the purchasers. The assessor has a true cash or market value of the property of $23,984. And it is our recommendation that the board determine that this property is considered to be surplus. And then it would move, the next process is it would go to the city commission, and they would make the decision on if they want to sell the property first, and then if they do, how they would go about that.
Anyone that'd like to speak in favor of this? Against? Any thoughts from the commissioners? Questions for staff?
Why now? That lot's been there for a long time. I'm going to presume that, if my memory serves me, it was for the post office use when it was the single post office, and then back in the 80s there was interest to retain that old building because they built a new one, and so they did. So it's been used as a post office. So what's the backstory? Is there?
The only thing that we could come up with is that maybe there was a time that if downtown did expand its footprint in any way, that having that piece for extra parking could be beneficial for the city. That was the only theory that we could come up with. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the interest in buying it was. As far as why now, I think it came to light when the post office just repaved their portion of the parking lot, and it came to light of, do we want to make that improvement? Do we need this lot? Is it providing services that are needed, or is there enough parking? That kind of discussion.
There's 2 post office trucks sitting in that parcel right now. So I don't, seems like the post office might be interested in it. I don't know.
Did they repave it, or did they want the city to pave?
They did not repave that portion of the parking lot.
Did they approach the city?
They did have discussions with Public Works. I'm not sure where those led.
Is there a thought that this could be reasonably developed into something besides just an adjacent parking lot?
I mean, in theory, someone could tear it apart and put a house on the property if they were interested.
So really, it's just another building lot available for sale in the city,
Correct.
in the RP.
In the RP district, yes, which allows single family, and it allows an extra occupant, but then it also allows a small list of some commercial type uses.
So this is a two-pronged question. What's the benefits to the citizens by maintaining possession of that property? And what are the benefits to the citizens by not maintaining that property?
So I think the benefits are, if we maintain it, there's more parking available. I don't know that we necessarily struggle with parking in that section of our downtown, but that is a benefit. I also don't know how many people know that it's owned by the city and is a public parking lot. The benefit of selling the lot is another developable lot in the community to put structures on or housing on, which we are here that we're in need of. And then also the cost of maintaining and repairing the parking lot wouldn't be the city's responsibility.
Thank you.
And I believe it was through master planning, there was a parking study done, and I remember that we had plenty of surplus parking downtown, and I know we also have added a little, some by the theater. Would that parking lot have been included in the counts of parking spaces downtown? Do you recall what I'm?
We have counted the parking spots downtown. I don't believe,
So that wouldn't have even been included in that count?
I don't think so.
I was thinking that was right, only on State Street.
It was mainly State Street and side streets, and then our actual lots. Yeah.
Anything else for staff? Gonna close for commissioner discussion.
always wonder, it can't be used for like a green space or another project the city could do to beautify, like another beautified place in town. I don't know, I know we have a lot of places at Hemlock and down
Expanded the use.
Mitchell Creek. I just wonder, is there anything that the city could put there that would just be a nice place to set when you're actually downtown and not at Mitchell Creek Park behind the State Street there and Hemlock? We have Pocket Park. What else do we have?
Speak to that maybe a little bit. So part of our agreement with the downtown theater is that we are buying the parking lot from the theater. And the owner of the theater is applying for a grant with the MEDC, and it requires some type of partnership with the community to have community space. So the thought right now, and we don't have any plans finalized or anything, is that we take a portion of that theater parking lot to make it a seating or activity area for our downtown, similar to what Pocket Park is, but not towards the music portion of Pocket Park, more interactive. So we've talked about putting like some concrete games in there, like concrete cornhole or things of that kind of nature, to try to have a space on that part of downtown,
Okay.
people together.
Okay.
Unless they're gonna put up a great big fence there, I can't imagine anybody wanting to hang out with the
Hang out there.
semi-trailers.
I can't either, yeah.
Would it be cheaper just to deed this over to the postal service? And just get rid of that piece of property? I mean,
Well,
if
I
they're
understand this,
talking
we're selling
about
at a loss.
paving it or,
So because it's owned by government, we can't just make a decision to say, hey, we're gonna deed this over. We can we can do decisions between government, but first we have to declare it surplus. So we could decide to have an agreement with the post office and deed it over, but if it's not between two governments, then you have to take it through a public process for sale. But all of it requires it to be deemed surplus before the city commission can move forward.
If it were to sell, anything but restructuring a private parking lot would have to go through our commission. If they were gonna build a new business house.
If it was going to be changed to a house, like if someone bought it, took out the parking lot and put a house, just a single family home in there, or even, well, that's all that's allowed, is a single family home, they would not have to come before the planning commission for site plan review. If it was going for a commercial type business, then it would have to become before the planning commission for site plan review. Residential structures are exempt from the planning commission process.
so if you put up a two-story similar to the old buildings downtown, commercial below, residential above, then that would have to come back through this.
Correct.
Well, I'll move that the properties at 114 North Warren are considered surplus and available for sale, be recommended to the city commission for approval because it meets the standards set in section 34.54 of the city code ordinances.
I'll second.
Roll call. Kalidas,
Yay.
Montgomery,
Yes.
McLeod, Vogel,
Yes.
Reddick.
Yes.
you. I will move on to the second public hearing for 1102 DeJornson Street, the Green Development Ventures. I believe we have a representative here. Walk us through that.
Good evening, everyone. Mike West with Green Development Ventures, 2186 East Center Avenue in Portage, Michigan. I'd like to thank you for your consideration of our subdivision plan and thank Michelle for all her assistance here the last few months as we've been working through the preliminary design and submittal process. As you are aware, this is a 20-acre property addressed as 1102 Jornson Street. Took me several times to practice that at home to hopefully pronounce that right. We have a purchase agreement with the Big Rapids Housing Commission to purchase this property for residential development. We are proposing a single-family detached subdivision, very similar to what you have to the south, under a site condominium subdivision as opposed to a traditional plat. And the only difference really for that is the approval process. Going through the final process, the final plat process with the state of Michigan adds at least 3 to 4 months to our final approval process. So we get the same end product just through a site condominium form of land division. In totality, we propose 54 lots on the 20-acre property, which will result in about 2.7 units per acre. 2 development phases is what we're thinking initially for this project. Have a mixture of 2-story ranch and bi-level homes between 1,600 and probably 2,200 square feet, 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 baths, 2-car attached garage. Value of the homes we're thinking is going to be, low 300s and possibly up. So we are proposing public streets, even though I think the plan says private streets. We are going to do public streets. We're going to design them to city standards. Sidewalks throughout the development. There were some comments in Michelle's staff report that I might be jumping to, but we are planting street trees to match kind of what was done on Mechanic Street. Public water, sanitary sewer will serve the project. We've designed the stormwater management system consistent with the city's requirements in Chapter 52. And I think you were provided a letter that I provided earlier today from to Michelle that kind of addressed some of their comments in her staff report. I don't know if it's appropriate to go through them now or later. You want to go through them now? Okay, sounds good. I didn't know if you were going to give a presentation as well, but I'll just walk through them because I kind of summarized them from the staff report. The first was on page 2 of the staff report. Fire hydrants along the south side of Road 1. Along the east side of Jornson, we will add a fire hydrant there, and we will meet the fire hydrant spacing for the subdivision, which is required by the International Fire Code. Streets, again, the subdivision will be served by public streets. The reference to the private streets is in error. The stormwater management system has been professionally designed by our engineer, which is Rogine Associates. After we had a meeting yesterday morning, myself, Michelle, and Mark went through these comments, I asked Rogine Associates to give me a couple paragraphs for a narrative on stormwater management. You probably saw what they provided you, because that's the way the engineer mind works. It's a detailed, technical, 11-page, I understand the first couple pages, and then I get lost as I start thumbing through this, but they're on it. I think they've reached out to Felice and Vanderbrink early on in the process. Obviously, you'll have to go through construction plan reviews, but this is what we do. We do this preliminary engineering even before we get to the stage because we want to make sure it's going to work too. So it will be designed to meet all your standards. I kind of summarized it in more layman terms, I think, in my section in the letter, but if you want the more technical breakdown, it's provided in their analysis as well. Under water and sewer, there was request for connections to Loudon Street, which we will do. They're actually shown on the plan, but they're very hard to see. And then there was a request to upsize the water main in Road 1 and Road 2 to 12 inches to allow for future expansion, and we will do that as well. Another request was for a temporary turnaround on the north end of Road 2, kind of like what we did on the south end. We will do that as well. Then we'll get into some more of the zoning comments. There were some preliminary comments on the master deed and bylaws. That is prepared by our attorney. It's kind of a template that we use. If there's concerns that the city have or the city attorney have, we'd be more than happy to talk to them about it. I think just what Michelle was pointing out, so there's some slight discrepancies in fencing and height of the grass and storage of RVs and stuff that we've kind of established in our communities maybe differ a little bit from the city standard, but we probably wouldn't have a big concern if there was a request to change any of those. Sidewalks, we do provide sidewalks throughout the project, but Michelle did ask for some crossings at Loudon and Mechanic to get to the north side of what we're calling Road 1. We will do that. We'll place some crosswalks and some dub downs to get across. Our biggest challenge there is alignment with the driveways that are going to be constructed on the north side. So if you look at, for example, on the north side of Loudon, you got Lot 5 that's right there. So we kind of got to pick a side where to put the sidewalks so it doesn't conflict with the driveway. But we'll figure that out as we do the individual house constructions. ADA ramps will be provided at all the intersections as well. Landscaping, we haven't shown it on the plan, but we will install street trees. Kind of our standard subdivision is a 2-inch caliber deciduous tree at a ratio of 1 per lot, or on a corner lot we'll put 2, one on each frontage. We'll also put some buffer trees around the stormwater detention pond along the joints and estuaries to soften the appearance of that from the roadway. What else we got here? Street lighting details. Yeah, we did talk about that. We will install street lights at whatever the city's requirements are, or consumers' requirements are. Typically, we put them on a development like this. We put them at the intersections for sure. So where Road 1 intersects with Johnson Street, and then at Loudon, and then Mechanic, and then at Road 2. So we put at least 4 lights at those intersections. And then last, there was I think there was 8 recommended conditions, and we don't have any issues with any of those 8 conditions. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Anyone here to speak for the subdivision? Please stand up to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is Mark Van Lent, and I'm a resident at 1710 Harding Drive, which is right sort of close to the property in question. And I'm actually here for, you might be surprised about that. I think it's a really nice, I only just looked at the houses last night, and I thought, oh, those look like some real nice houses, and it seems like it's a real good development. It seems like it's a real positive thing. So I do like it. So really, I really want to just talk about kind of like a friendly amendment sort of idea, because I have some concerns about, and really a request to consider a bike lane and sidewalk improvements along Bjornson Street and with a connection to Harding Drive. I wrote some of this out, so please forgive me if I just go ahead and read some of it. It might make it a little bit easier for me. Members of the Big Rapids Housing Planning Commission, as part of the city's review of the proposed 20-acre residential development by Green Development Ventures, I respectfully urge the commission to prioritize the addition of a bike lane and sidewalks along Bjornson Street. And it would probably match some of that development, that it seems like it's going to be really nice with sidewalks and things like that. Directly adjacent to the development site with a safe, continuous connection, possibly all the way to Harding Drive. Bjornson Street is currently the busiest road in the surrounding area, and it presents a serious and growing safety hazard. Without sidewalks or a designated bike lane, pedestrians, children, and cyclists are exposed to fast-moving traffic, often with no safe space to walk or ride. With hundreds of new residents potentially expected as part of this development, the risk to vulnerable road users will only increase. This is not a new idea. I did look at the master plan that was recently developed, and a bike lane along Bjornson is already identified in the city's master plan, demonstrating the city's long-term vision for a connected multimodal infrastructure. The current development activity presents a perfect opportunity to act on that vision and deliver critical safety improvements when they will be most cost effective to implement. I put that because I didn't really know who's building the roads, if it's the city and the city's out there, if it's the development. I'm not sure, but certainly there'll be equipment and activity out there. I strongly urge the commission to ensure that the bike lane be extended to connect to Harding Drive, that's where I live, but forming a continuous and functional route between neighborhoods and community destinations. It could greatly improve neighborhood walkability and bikeability, support safe routes for children walking or biking to school, encourage active transportation and reduce vehicle congestion, add long-term value and connectivity to this development and the city as a whole. These improvements align with the city's values of safety, accessibility, and responsible growth. I hope the commission will act now to ensure that Bjornson Street becomes a safer, more livable corridor for all, and thank you for your thoughtful consideration. Just as a resident, I mean, we've walked it, we've biked it, there's baby carriages, there's bikes, and it's dangerous. I mean, there's really not a good place to get off the road, and if two cars are coming at the same time, it's really not safe, and it's really not a safe place. I'm sure there's a lot of places in the city like that, but this is certainly one. Since we're, sort of developing that area, it would be great to try to do some of that work on Bjornson Street to make it just a little bit safer for the residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak for it? Anyone against? Anyone want to respond to the previous comment? Okay.
As a planner myself, I agree 100% with the comments. I just don't think us as developers can accomplish that goal. That's more of a city, more comprehensive project, and do it all along Bjornson, wherever else it goes. Because there's multiple property owners involved. You have design issues with driveways and culverts. It's, especially if you're doing sidewalk, it gets complicated. But I support the idea. I just don't think we can be the one that do those offsite improvements.
Understood. Commissioners, any question for staff?
Maybe staff would like to talk to us about.
Great.
Yeah, just thought maybe. Okay.
Do you have any input from outside?
I did receive a phone call today from the neighbor just to the north. They really were just asking questions. They didn't voice really any concerns. Their one concern was that if this was approved and then they changed their mind and decided it was to be apartment complexes, that they would just be able to go forward and do it. So we went through what process that would require, and it would require more public notice and public hearings, and that it wouldn't just be this is done and now they can do what they want. So that was really the only phone call I've had on the proposal, and they seemed fine with that answer and didn't have any other questions really.
I guess when I look at the layout there, it shows that second road east of Mechanic Street just kind of dead ending.
Hold on.
There, does the city or housing commission own property still to the north of that? And is that road going to turn up and come over and connect to DeKraft?
Let me pull up my map, Rory, so that we can see. So I'm assuming you're talking about like the road 2 that dead ends
Correct.
right in this area. So
Does it yes, it
Yeah.
has a dead end at the south end
and then up here on the north end. So both of these properties here are owned by the Housing Commission currently. It doesn't line up perfectly with DeKraft, and we know that. There's just no,
I
but
didn't know if that's the future plan.
yeah, we know that it doesn't line up perfectly with DeKraft, but with the Housing Commission owning the property, and the relationship that the city has with the Housing Commission, there's some potential that we could still make it connect to DeKraft.
I just wondered, it was something they had mentioned a long time ago. Are those other lots that are on the north side there, outside of the box, are those all future development, or?
This is owned by the Housing Commission as well.
And there's nothing on that?
There's nothing on that one. There's a drive access. This property is owned by the Housing Commission. This property, I believe, is owned by the Housing Commission. This property is not.
We just bought it last week.
Oh, well, now this property is owned by the Housing Commission
Which
too.
property? I'm sorry, which ones are we?
The one just north of those apartments, so right here. It was privately owned at one time, but Linda said they just bought it last week.
I'm still not sure where you're talking.
Right here, see
Oh,
my,
I see your cursor
It's
now.
north of
Yeah, no,
Evergreen.
I got it, yep.
got it,
Evergreen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the cursor,
sorry.
it's my fault.
If the subdivision is using public roads, though, road number 2, I'm gonna call it right now, could potentially also access that property, could it not in the future?
It could, yes. So we would potentially have to figure out some kind of connection and it could change a road name.
I have a question. Where is the city's storm sewer? Is its location?
I believe that to pick up Storm, they would have had to come all the way down to Milton. I don't believe there was any, I know it was a significant amount of time to, or length to pick up our storm system.
It just seemed like the city put a pretty good sized pipe over to the west.
Or maybe Milton.
I'm sorry, I just don't know, but I know that it seemed like it was a large pipe that would eventually take up that whole subdivision.
I know that when we had plans, it might. I know that it couldn't come down Mechanic, that we didn't have enough storm to expand, if we expanded north from Mechanic, that it couldn't come down what the storm they just put in, and that we would have to redo a bunch of storm.
It seemed like where Spear is, it was in that area.
That sounds right, that it came
So
across.
they're moving it up so they could hit Bjornson perhaps someday. That would take care of that whole area, which to me seems pretty important from a city standpoint. It affects Bjornson's ditches, which now create a problem to expand that road, to make it safe, and just thinking that way. And then if the development could get rid, well, I don't know if they could get rid of the pond, but it seemed like it would make some sense in the long term, but it's not there so yet.
Yeah, there's no storm to this.
Okay. I guess, can I ask another question? I find it, if I read through everything, the detention pond was going to be operated by the city?
No.
Did I read that incorrectly? Oh, okay, so that's going to be the developers.
Yeah, what you probably read is I had some language in my staff report, and I believe they as well had some language in their response to my staff report about the infrastructure under the roads for storm would probably be city maintained, but it's still dumping into that pond.
The pond is their
Detention,
responsibility.
but that the pond would remain their responsibility, so we would need to work out some kind of agreement to be signed about showing whose responsibility is what for the stormwater infrastructure, cause some of it's gonna be ours and some of it's gonna be theirs. So it's clearly
So when it
spelled out.
overflows, it has a place to go. Right? And there's a culvert there, evidently.
Correct.
That's what we're going
Any questions? Any comments from the commissioners?
One, if I might, the temporary gravel turnaround or the dead end area, it says it's gonna be gravel. It sure would be nice to have that paved, even though it's temporary. And it would sure be good to have one on the other end of it. For more than, really, for the benefit of the residents in that area, specifically the dial-a-ride. Dial-a-ride has had problems with dead-end streets and turning around and people's driveways. If there was a way we could, those could be paved and one created on the north side, I think that would be helpful. Residents don't like people driving into their driveway to turn around, and so it seems like if we took care of that problem, that would be most helpful. What do you think?
So we will put another temporary turnaround on that north end. That was one of the requirements or one of the requests from the city. And we're gonna do, our temporary turnarounds, we do them all over the place. They'll be a compacted sub-base. So if you go right now to the north ends of Mechanic and Loudon, those are rough. I mean, they're really rough.
Those are rough.
These won't look like these. These will be, compacted, stabilized gravel. So they'll be plowable, they'll be drivable, they won't be all rutted up like that. But paving them is not desirable on our end, just because there's a significant cost to that. But if we stabilize it and compact that gravel, it'll be just like a gravel road, for example. So, and it'll allow for turnable, and the city can plow it when it's built and so forth. So.
Okay, thank you. Will, let me ask another question.
Absolutely.
Will all the portfolio, will all these houses be able to fit on these lots?
Yes,
Is that your,
Yes, so those lots on average are 75 feet wide or larger. We have a 25-foot total side yard setback. I think it's 10 and 10, but it's gotta be a total of 25s. So however you do that. So that leaves us with a minimum of 50-foot wide buildable envelope. And most of our home product that you see there is 40 feet.
okay,
So we have more than enough, and we have a lot more than that as well, too. We have other home product that can fit on there. But most of our home product is, if we have a 50-foot envelope to build on, we got all kinds of options. We even have an option for a third stall garage if somebody was gonna buy a house and wanted a third stall garage on it. It'd be enough to fit it on there, because again, our product's about 40-foot wide.
can a person buy two lots next to each other and build in this scenario?
Generally speaking, not generally speaking, all the time speaking, we don't sell lots. So we sell lots and homes. We are the developer, we are the builder. So we have not sold off lots for people. I guess in some case, on a pre-sold, if they came in and they said they wanted two lots, I'm sure we would, but I'm sure that cost would be significant, because they're probably, you're making money on the house more so than the lots sometimes when you're building them. So I haven't seen that happen
Okay.
in my time. So
when people come and buy this place up, are you just done with it, or do you still own the property that the houses sit on? Is it like a traditional high-rise condo where you just own what's inside your wall?
I know the word site. I know the word condominium gets people confused, because you think a traditional condo, you own the house or the building, and you own it inside wall to inside wall. Even on the outside, you don't own it. The HOA owns it. This is a different type of concept. There's no there's no common open space. You're gonna own, if you buy lot 3, or unit 3 is what they call it in the site guide, you own the land area as well as the house. So, yeah, the only thing that may be under common ownership would be this stormwater retention basin, and that's something we have to work out with the city. Then there would be an HOA that would manage that, and then, there's rear yard drainage swales and infrastructure that we install to maintain stormwater. That would not be, the infrastructure would be owned by the association, so that's everybody in totality. And then the way we do our stormwater agreements, where we have shared responsibility, is there's provisions in our maintenance agreement and in our master deed that says the HOA is supposed to maintain that, and if they don't, then the city can come in and maintain it and then bill the owners of the HOA for the cost.
In the master agreement, it talked about 23 lots, and I didn't know if that was error or...
Well, again, our attorney does it, so 23 lots represents the first phase. And then there's an expandable portion that they can then expand it to another, whatever it would be, 29 lots more to make it 54. So that's for phase 1, and then there's a provision to expand if necessary.
So tonight, we're looking at the whole entire property, is that correct?
Correct.
This is our
So
one-time...
this is your one-time
Okay.
look, yeah, tonight is for the whole entire property, not just the first phase.
Can you speak to the difference between the condo rules and city codes? How does that work in
I
this
can.
situation?
So they're able to have stricter rules than the city does. They're not able to have more lenient, or they can, but the city's gonna enforce their rules. So in HOAs, they have covenants and agreements which they have laid out, and some of those covenants are more strict than what we currently allow in the city. Like the ones that popped out to me were the 5-inch grass. We have a 6-inch grass rule. The other one was the storage of the RVs on the property. They didn't allow them at all. We typically allow them, but we have some restraints on where they can be parked and how they can be parked and at what times of the year. And then they also had different guidelines for fencing, or rules for fencing, what type of material. We allow wood, they don't, which is, it's fine. It doesn't really cause a huge rub. The concern I think I have, or staff had, was that having 2 sets of rules sometimes confuses citizens. We are not gonna enforce the HOA rules. If someone calls in a complaint to the city and says, well, my covenants say they can't build a fence made out of wood, I'm gonna tell them, well, the city ordinance says that they can. You need to take that up with your HOA. It's their job to enforce that covenant, not ours. And so I think if the community wants that in their HOA, that's great. I just think sometimes people don't understand it, that it's not the city that's gonna come and enforce the rules. So that's where my concern is, but it's not a huge deal.
But there can be clarity to that when it comes to both when those units are sold and or the first contacts with the city. So again, once that pattern gets established, I think that shouldn't be a problem. Was that a fair statement? There's always gonna be somebody that might call.
Right.
But you just have to educate that person that the less restrictive city ordinance, they have to, if it's the more restrictive condominium, the housing association or HOA, they need to go back through that. I don't see an issue with it myself, so.
It might not be an issue. We don't have very many HOAs like this in the city limits, so I think that's probably why city staff is more concerned about it than like we would typically be, is because there's not a lot of that, and people's first gut reaction is like, well, call the city. They'll help, or they'll tell you what the rules are, which I mean, I'm happy to tell people, like, I'm sorry, that's not my responsibility. You need to contact your HOA. And usually the issue isn't with first homeowners. It's if the properties continue to be sold, then they might not have the full understanding. The developer is selling to the first homeowner. They're gonna walk them through what all of those rules are and still be on site developing likely. It's typically like a second or third generation of homeowners, so.
But if those units are sold after the original buyer, isn't the seller required to notify that person that there's a covenant or HOA agreement in place before
Well,
they sell it?
So for the first-time home buyers, we provide them a copy of the master deed and community bylaw, so they have this document. It gets recorded, so I assume if somebody was to sell the home 10 years later, you would do title work and you would get a copy of that master deed and bylaws that was recorded for the property. It's also possible that, once this is built out, the HOA can change whatever they want. So if the HOA agrees to say, you know what, we want to allow for chain link fences, they can make an amendment to the bylaws. Grass height, RV storage, whatever it is. This is the template that is worth for us to start up communities, kind of the standards that we've set and our attorney thinks are appropriate. But once it's out of our control, it's built out, you can modify standards. And then it comes down to what do they enforce? I mean, how active are HOAs? Some are very, very active. Some are gonna be like, yeah, forget about it. We're not gonna enforce it. And that's their choice as an HOA, so.
Can the HOA eventually dissolve?
They can. I mean, there are HOAs that dissolve. This one has infrastructure included in the HOA's responsibility, so they would have a harder time dissolving because of that infrastructure responsibility. HOAs that just do covenants and rules, they can dissolve a lot easier.
The only thing that I saw, so they had some more restrictive, the 5-inch grass. There was something in there about garbage pickup, which could potentially get the city into a contract breach. I believe his letter addresses, though, that they would agree to that.
Yeah.
This letter dated the 16th from Mr. Westwood is now officially in the meeting minutes and will be part of this.
Correct. Yep. It will be included in the official packet.
I have a question about the street names.
Yes.
The one, it's called Glen Elm.
Yes.
And my only thought about the elm part is that we already have an elm on one side of the river, an elm on the other side of the river, and now we're gonna have a Glen Elm, a third elm in town. Seems to be, when somebody's excited and needs public safety, it might get confusing, and I just wonder if that might be adjusted but just eliminate that elm part.
And just
For
call
that-
it
For that. for
Glen
that reason.
Street. We could do
And I
that.
don't know, I'm just,
And it also doesn't have to be a part of the approval requirements to use those names.
I just wondered, I just thought that would create some issues
Mm-hmm.
that need to be created for that reason.
That's
Glen
fair.
Oak, if you like. We don't have a preference, whatever you
That's the only
like.
reason, the elm, because we have already two, and
Whatever the city wants.
that's the only reason.
That's a fair, good thought.
Can I just ask a quick question? I just wonder about basements. Is that the preference of the buyer, or will every house have a basement?
Our plan is to have every one of these houses have a basement.
Just curious.
Groundwater is deep enough where we can accommodate that, so that's my understanding is we're gonna have basements. The homes sell a lot better and have more resale if you have a basement as opposed to slab.
Storage, so stuff's not on.
Is this your, does your company, what other HOAs or building neighborhoods have you built?
We do a lot of site condominium subdivisions in Michigan, a lot
Closest
of
to
them.
Big Rapids is,
I knew you were gonna ask that, so I wrote down a couple. I just knew it. So, in Cedar Springs, we have a subdivision called White Pine Trail, which obviously crosses the White Pine Trail. And when I drove by the site today, I saw a sign for White Pine Trail, so it must come all the way and connect the communities. I didn't know that, but that's one. So White Pine Trails in Cedar Springs, In Greenville, we have a couple of them. We got a new development called Edgewood Pines, and then an older one in Hawthorne Park. Both of those are site condominium subdivisions. We're building another one called Hathaway Woods, which is starting construction in the next couple months. In Kent City, we have one called Meadow Garden Estates North, which is kind of on the east side of Kent City. That's a site condominium subdivision. We went to that site condominium subdivision years ago because just the plating process was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd get right to the finish line, it'd be like 3, 4, 5 months before we got our final plat approval, and we couldn't do anything. We were in this limbo state. In Michigan, that might take you right till January, and then you'll get your final plat approval. Like, thanks a lot, it's middle of the winter. So, yeah, the site condominium subdivision, some of them have lots of open space. This one has very minimal open space. The only thing really of common area is the detention basin. If the city doesn't want it, we will have that conversation with them, but if they want this to be city property, we'd carve it out and deed it to the city, and then the city would have the roadways, the infrastructure and the roads, and then the pond, and then the HOA would govern everything in the rear yard. But it's whatever the city's preferences we'll work with.
When you connect the homes to the water and the sewer, are those leads then the responsibility of the homeowner, the lot owner then, from the main to, or how?
I don't know how the city's, what's the city's standard on maintenance? Is it to the meter or to the main? I don't know what that, but it's the same in the platted subdivision. Okay. It's the individual lot owner's responsibility wherever that starts. And sometimes it's at the meter, sometimes it's all the way to the road. I don't know how Big Rapids does it, so.
I can comment on
Huh?
City of Big Rapids stops at the actual shut-off valve out at the street, and they're responsible
Well,
for
from every-
shut-off valve to the house.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Unless, of course, somebody put in a lead line 100 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been replacing lead lines, but besides that, it's the homeowner's responsibility.
Michelle, can you advise us, there was the public comment around the bike line does align with the master plan. What is our best way to communicate our encouragement of that to the city commission?
I think that you probably just how you worded it, that if you're recommending approval, don't put it as a condition, but put it as, we would also encourage the city commission and staff to look at bike lanes along Bajornson and connections to sidewalks or trail systems in the area to help provide those connections to this new development.
Comfortable closing this to the commissioners now?
Nope.
Well, we have to have a resolution, and I think there's one here. But the new document, July 16th, he has a different set of recommendations. They're not different, they're just restated perhaps. Is there anything else that we need to add? I guess the only thing I would, number 5 has that, the street name, and I would list that as,
You can just have that to be determined, like you can say street names to be determined with city staff.
yeah.
You don't want the road names included.
That seems okay. That's okay with me.
Are you comfortable encouraging the sidewalks and bike lanes as is in line with the master plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, let's see, I move that the preliminary site condominium subdivision at 1102 Bjornson Street be recommended for approval with conditions. The applicant meets the criteria for review set in section 9.6 of the zoning ordinance. The conditions are required as follows, and then
You can just say, Tim, to make it easier, as referenced in staff report 1 through 8, as well as encourage city commission staff to look into the addition of bike lanes and sidewalk connections along Bjornson, and to have the road names to be determined by city staff.
yes. If you have that written, Michelle, if
Yeah.
you got it all down, okay.
I'll second that.
Roll call. Ruddick,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Yes.
Canitas, McLeod.
Yes.
It's passed. So the application will be forwarded now to the city commission with your guys' recommendations. And that will go likely to the August 18th city commission agenda.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
We appreciate the housing.
I will move on now to general business, and we have a chimney swift night out.
Oh, yeah, so we're in our desires to become a bird city, we are hosting a chimney swift night out. It is on August 8th around dusk, so we think it'll probably be 9-ish o'clock right in front of City Hall. So for those of you who don't know, chimney swifts are little birds that appear to be look like bats, but they're not bats. And about 200 of them nest at the City Hall chimney before they migrate south for the winter. And they usually start nesting around the end of July, beginning of August before they fly out. So we're gonna do a viewing, and City Manager Mark Gifford is gonna talk more about the birds because he knows a lot about them. And we'll set up chairs in the parking lot, and you can have popcorn and enjoy the social district and watch chimney swifts fly into the City Hall.
Okay. Do we need to have any discussion on this further, or is this just informational?
Just an informational for you, if you wanna attend and learn about them. I can update you on the zoning ordinance too after the audit we did last month with or beginning of this month, it's moved really fast. Over the zoning ordinance, we have our steering committee, and we're planning to meet in the middle of August to start going over the zoning ordinance and making suggestions for changes. So I will keep you abreast of how those discussions go as they continue on. There will be some public input sessions too.
I have a question about the sidewalk that's gonna go in on Hutchinson.
Yes.
Is there any date when that is gonna?
I'm not sure when they're doing it. I know that they had to get Fleece and Vanderbrink involved to engineer it because of the slope, so I don't know. It's once we get the grant, it moves into Public Works Department. I know it's still planned, but it might even be next spring that they're gonna be working on it. I'm not 100% sure, but it's still planned. It's just taking a little bit longer. I'm good.
Scheduled business? We adjourn.
His plans.
Okay.
Need hard copies as well?
Um,
Those big sets as well. I can get you those as well overnight or something.
I probably need hard copies for 6 of us.
6 hard copies. How many council members you have?
I have 5.
Just one. That'd be enough, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
6 sets, 24 minutes. I'll email you.
Like the quiet time there. I could see what you were thinking, yeah.
Gene and Associates revise it.
Okay.
Go with like Glen Oaks instead of Glen Elm.
The mayor picked the name, so I
We
got
picked the name of the subdivision too, so.
I know.
Let me know what he wants, let me know what he wants for that,
Yeah.
and I'll advise them, I'll have them put it on it, and
I was trying to
I
catch
think we'll
your eye.
address everything, so.
I knew where those names came from.
Yeah. Okay.
I will also add that the Blakeleys really think that one of the streets should be called Blake. That's who we bought it from.
Oh, that's true.
But I know they're in the minority.
Yeah, that's slick, isn't it?
Where did the names come from?